What's up, guys? Sub-Zeric here. If you guys missed it, yesterday was the start of Tacticians Trials number 2. This is the tournament that leads into the Tacticians Cup, which leads into regionals, worlds, everything that could ever matter. And some of the best players in North America are playing. One of the best being Rainplosion, former world finalist, and she just dropped almost a perfect day. 1-1-2-1-1-1 for a total of 47 points across the day. Only 1 second and then 5 first. So just goes to show what an absolute beast she is. We're going to VOD review her game, but I also wanted to flex my own performance, which, you know, not as good as Rain's, but pretty good. 35th overall in my group with only 1 bot 4 and a first and some thirds in there. So, you know, not bad. I'll be playing in day 2 later today. Once again, probably about an hour after this video goes live, I'll be live on my Twitch, or I might be live even earlier than that just to hang out, watch some games, and get ready to play. But today we are going to watch game number 5 from Rain's run. This showed off a really cool way to play around one of the most broken synergies in the game. Okay, I won't hold it to you too much longer. She's playing around snipers this game with a sniper +1 setup with the sniper emblem augment. Snipers, after the buff to them this patch, have just become one of the most dominant comps in the meta. I talked about how that 4 sniper comp is incredibly strong, with just the fact that you play 4 sniper, 4 warden, and you just get insane amount of frontline because warden was kind of overbuffed, and you get insane amounts of damage because sniper was kind of overbuffed. So yeah, let's see what Rain does. We get potentially a gargoyle plus bow opener is certainly what I would look at. I like the pre-level from Rain with the fact that we already have the RE2 here. The only downside is we don't get a higher chance of hitting something like Yasuo 2, but we have high chance of hitting something like an Aphelios or a Thresh now to complete out our Fated opener. And then Sniper Crest just allows us to finish our Fated opener as well. Rain was looking at the Threes Company, actually, which surprises me because I do not rate this augment very highly. It would, you know, give her a decent chance of completing her Fated as well, but I think Sniper Crest is just a million times better augment here. So yeah, it's interesting. I mean, she's scouting around the lobby right now to see how contested snipers will be, because she does have to basically lock herself into a comp immediately, but, you know, that's all good when the comp is this strong. So we send the Sniper Crest onto Ahri here. It's actually a very interesting pickup from support item here. It's not what I expected whatsoever. It's probably the one that I expected the least, I would say. You know, Virtue of the Martyr factors very well in the stats, but I think Rain's idea here is that Virtue is not actually going to do a lot in this early game because you don't actually have frontline to juice up. Same thing with Randuin's. So Rain actually, against all odds, goes for I'll wait for her to pick it so she gets to, you know, show off the genius of her support item Anvil pick here. But it is actually 3 seconds left. The Banshee's Veil. Now, why would you take Banshee's Veil in this comp? You don't have a lot of melee carries that are getting CC'd. Well, there's a lot of backline CC that exists in the meta right now in stuff like Nautilus. Nautilus is like the huge ones where if you clump your backline, you're always getting Nautilus ulted. And you do kind of want to clump your backline a little bit with something like a Senna when you're playing around this comp. So throwing a Banshee's Veil onto Senna means your backline's never getting CC'd, and you get to greed for Senna value. You also get to greed for Aphelios value. Putting him same side as your carry means you can guarantee Shred on that side, though, you know, we'll see. Oftentimes people end up building Shred in this comp anyway. But it's a really cool idea. It also obviously gives attack speed to all your snipers, which is really good because snipers attacking makes them do damage. I mean, that's just how units work in TFT. So it's a pretty cool idea from Rain here, and I believe if you check the stats, I checked the stats earlier, and they do support actually taking Banshee's Veil in this comp pretty highly. Obviously, the best support item is the one that is still broken, Moonstone Renewer, but as a close second, you can take this Banshee's Veil and have a very good time with it. So pretty interesting, and I learned already, like, you know, 2 seconds into this VOD, about a support item that is pretty good in this sniper setup. We have bow open here, so we'd love to finish something like a Gwinsu. I mean, take Gwinsu Aphelios here and you like legit win the game, but sadly we can't pick that up. We'd love to pick up a glove and make a last whisper, but both of those get yoinked as well. So we're just going to take this belt Nico here. It's a Nico for Arcanist if we want to just play that here onto our board. And it also, Rain actually thinks about this decision a while, the potential Nasher slam onto Ahri, and it's kind of crazy. We talked last VOD about someone who did something similar that got made fun of basically in Kurum's game for slamming Nashers or Shojin as like their first item with a sniper emblem, but Rain actually thinks about this a lot because you can go Nashers here, you can put that on like a Lilia late game, and it is a good slam here. Rain talks about the fact that maybe with a Nasher Slam, probably with a Nasher Slam, we would have won this fight and could have potentially 5-streaked. So it's possible that the slam here is Nashers. I think Rain ends up not actually making the slam because it kills bow, which is a really, really big component when you're playing around snipers. You want Last Whisper, you want Gwinsu. There's so many good bow items that you can build, even stuff like Red Buff is Saladon to like Aphelios, or even to Ashe under some circumstances. So it feels really difficult to make that slam to get rid of one of your bows, and Belt is a solid tank item, especially because we already have the Gargoyle. So, you know, Belt could be Redemption, Belt could be even a Warmogs. So I don't think the slam actually does make sense, but I mean, in hindsight, she probably would have 5-streaked here, and she probably could have found a use for Nashers. So it's actually really interesting just thinking about these kind of ideas about slamming unconventional items. And hey, when you're potentially slamming them for a 5-streak, it actually could make sense, as crazy as it seems. But Rain ends up not slamming it. I think the correct idea is to not slam it, but like I said, very, very close and really interesting. Got an Amumu here, which will be very, very nice for late game. It's just kind of awkward on our board currently. We also now have this Thresh here, which is a really, really nice unit to, you know, play around Faded with. Maybe we could have a 5 Faded setup. Rain picks up the Lee Sin here, and this is a unit that I think Rain evaluates very, very highly, and with good reason. I feel like Lee Sin is kind of the new Sylas after the Sylas nerfs, where Lee Sin is just this unit that he does it all. He's everything. He's frontline, he's damage, he's mana reave, like he's shielding so that like your board lives longer. I feel like he actually just does it all. And not only is he insane just as a random +1 as he is here, but you know, if you can get to a setup where you can play around Vertical Duelist. I had 2 games yesterday where I got to play Vertical Duelist, and 8 Duelist Lee Sin is not to be trifled with. He is an absolute monster. Okay, this is a pick that kind of surprises me from Rain. She rerolls all these augments here. She was not really interested in exiles whatsoever. I feel like Rain... Well, actually, no. I'm thinking of a different game. This game, exiles obviously doesn't make sense because we have banshees here. So your options in this spot are either Unified or Golden Remover. Unified, solid frontline item, but Golden Remover I think makes a lot of sense here. You can take a component anvil and finish any of your items here, or you could even take just an extra bow to get closer to like BIS and everyone. So I think Golden Remover seems fantastic. Also is going to make it easier to move your sniper emblem around later. I mean, I just love this Golden Remover augment in general. Just having Golden Remover is fantastic. Picks up the item here, and she kind of gets forced into building a Gwinsu here. Doesn't feel amazing. You could go, like I said, another bow would be great, but the problem with another bow is that you just have all these open components. And I mean, Gwinsu, fantastic item whenever we're playing around snipers, so I don't know. It's not the... Doesn't feel bad, certainly, to make a Gwinsu when we're guaranteed to be playing around snipers. What does feel bad is what encounter is coming up here. And yeah, I did peek ahead in the VOD. I haven't seen the whole thing, but I watched some of it. But this encounter here, we get the Malphite encounter, which basically just gives a Golden Remover to everyone. So we are now saying that our silver augment was 1 component, which is pretty bad. 1 component anvil, I guess, so it could be worse. But yeah, this feels terrible. I mean, this is just getting a little bit more dogged by encounters. At the end of the day, it's not the end of the world. You could think of this as taking something like teaming up, where you get a random component, and hey, we got something better than a random component. We just didn't get that 6 gold from teaming up, and you know, just pretend like we lost 6 gold randomly, and then it feels okay. Yeah, I don't know. It feels bad. It certainly feels bad. Rain can't actually make 50 gold here either, so she ends up a little bit broke. The only upside is we already are holding on to a lot of the units that we need. We have this Aphelios pair, we have this Amumu. So the upside is that we have a lot of these units, so we don't need a lot of gold. This is also just an insanely cheap board in general. Bow here seems to make a lot of sense here, so we can finish out potentially a Giant Slayer here. What happened to our... Didn't we have a... Oh no, we never actually had a glove open, so we're probably actually just not going to make anything here. Giant Slayer is an okay Ashe item, but it's not even that good. Yeah, for some reason I thought we had glove, but I think it was that we had glove out of anvil potentially. In any case, we are going to move items over actually so that we can put the bow onto Ari instead of the sword. Just tiny little optimization by Rain to get that early attack speed to help stack the Gwinsu even faster. Pretty smart stuff from her. She doesn't actually get to make the full swap over to the left side, so our Aphelios ends up in a weird spot. But hey, I mean, we're never winning this fight. Though it's actually really interesting. This person has Salvage Bin, which is going to be so crazy with the Malphite encounter. The only downside is they're so low. I don't know how they ended up that low from the position that they're in, but I mean, you know, hey, it happens. Pick up Aphelios 2 here. Now we can move these items over to him using the Golden Remover or the Malphite encounter, really dealer's choice at this point. But the Aphelios 2 is going to help stabilize us a lot. All we need at this point is to find some semblance of a frontline. And I mean, already the Yasuo 2 isn't terrible, but we'd really like a little bit more of a better frontline here. But the Aphelios 2 helps stabilize us and helps kind of bring us back into the game, because with Without this Aphelios 2, we're actually in a pretty rough spot. If we didn't have Aphelios paired and we couldn't find Aphelios 2 here, I'd be really scared for our position. But Aphelios 2 makes us feel a lot better. We get the 4 loss streak here, which, you know, it's not amazing. It's not an Econ breakpoint like the 5 or 6, but I mean, it's a loss streak, and a loss streak's a loss streak. Also pick up the Senatu here, so we're already picking up some upgrades, and we can level to 7 at this point. Level 7, 50 gold here. Like I said, not the richest that anyone's ever been, but if we get a decent amount of gold from Wolves here, we'll be sort of like on curve econ-wise, and yeah, we do get a decent amount of gold from minions here. Pick up another Lee Sin, which could be interesting. Make the Last Whisper, the Gunblade, and the Redemption here. Range slams everything. Makes a lot of sense, though. These items fit perfectly. I mean, the Redemption's fantastic with the Gargoyles. The Last Whisper is the obvious slam, and then the only slam that you even have to really think about is the Gunblade, which is a little scary, but when you have a setup like this with a Gwinsu LW, I think Gunblade fits in really, really well. It's just, you're probably going to have enough damage, especially once you start duo carrying the Aphelios, once Aphelios becomes the secondary carry, once we get items onto Ashe, blah, blah, blah. We'll get there. But yeah, I mean, the spot actually ends up looking pretty solid here. The only downside is, like I said, we're a little broke. What I'm curious about is how Rain plays for level 8 this game, how much we end up rolling here. Augment-wise, we have a bunch of solid options here, actually. I don't really like support cash, but Avataf and Gifts from the Fallen are both fantastic here. I think this is the part of the VOD where I actually stopped watching, so I don't know what she ends up taking in this position. What would I take in this position? I'd probably take Gifts from the Fallen, actually. Epitaph, when you're playing Sniper Emblem, like, we're not going to have that many frontliners, but it's very, very close. We also already have the extra attack speed from Banshees here. I'd probably take Gifts, but curious to see what Rain takes here, because Epitaph is a fantastic augment. I mean, I'd be surprised about support cash, but I mean, there is certainly an idea behind taking support cash as well. So I guess we'll see. Roll both of these, yeah, and we take Gifts from the Fallen. Hooray! I guessed accurately what we ended up taking here, and we get 5 faded in on this board. I love this, the level to 8 and no roll here, because our board's pretty decent with this Kindred in, with the 5 faded setup. It's not amazing, but not terrible. But we don't want to kill our Econ, and the Aphelios 2 stabilize us a lot. Like, this board is going to be decent for most of this stage. Also, I really, really like the discipline here to hold on to the Lilia. She doesn't necessarily need to hold this. I mean, I guess the hard part is if you wanted to sell Lilia, you'd have to sell Kog'Maw as well, or the Amumu, which you don't really want to sell either of those, so it's not too difficult. But yeah, we get to item here. You just want a third frontline item, I would think. I mean, Deathcap could be Lilia, but I don't think so. I would just keep rolling here, digging for some kind of frontline. I'm surely find something. Okay, Morello's is good enough, certainly, to take here. And it's also half of a belt item, which can be frontline. But yeah, getting your heal cut feels really good here. Now we have completed the 2 things that you would like in every single TFT game, which is heal cut and shred/sunder for your whatever your damage type is. We got the Last Whisper made, and we got the Morello made, so we got those things checked off. We have carry items, we have tank items. Rain's items end up actually being fantastic this game after picking up at that Morello, and the belt is going to end up being another tank item. I think one of the things I've noticed just from watching Rain play, I watched a lot of her games earlier today just to VOD review to prep for the rest of the tourney, is that I feel like her items just always end up working out so well. I guess you want Warmogs here. Warmogs is kind of a stinky item, but I mean, I guess you would take it here. We don't get the option, so we're going to take a glove here. Could be something like a Steadfast Heart, we'll see, or it could just be like a Guardbreaker for Aphelios. I probably wouldn't make Guardbreaker right now, but we can certainly think about it later. This guy playing snipers is very annoying, but like I said, the upside is that our board is pretty solid right now. We have a few upgrades in, you know, the Ari2, the Aphelios 2, the Suo 2, and the Senna 2. So I think our board's decent enough that we don't have to like roll here. I don't think this is going to be any kind of a fast 9 though. This is probably going to be a wait till 5-1 and roll if I were to take a guess, take a gander, take a gamble. Also, this person playing Shen reroll, how many? They only have 6 Shens. I feel like so many people. Oh, this is Koboko Dance. Rain can try to figure out. Yeah, she's trying to figure out where her loot orb is. She pinged. I don't think she got it, but I mean, it was a good try. Or maybe someone else ended up pinging actually. But yeah, I actually did this in tourney. I figured out where my loot orb was based on the Leduc tech that people have talked about. She gets another glove here, so that's just a TG Warmog. Love this. This TG can, with the augment here, and I mean with the fact that we're in Malphite portal, either way, you can just make this Thief's Gloves just move around your entire board depending on where it goes best. You know, you can put it onto this Ari if it makes sense on the Ari. You can put it on the Aphelios if it makes sense on the Aphelios. Once we move items over to Ashe, it just makes so much sense. I love this kind of setup. There's an Ashe actually. Okay, so once we hit Ashe, we do have the opportunity to play around 6 sniper, I believe. And yeah, Rain's gonna immediately actually put that in and then hold this as her board for now. I think now that I remember seeing the end of this game, I wonder. I think Rain actually might go fast 9 in this game, and it kind of blew me away. But I mean, we'll see what happens here. We make the Crown Guard for the Thresh here. Gonna throw Sniper Emblem on a random frontliner because we want to play that 6 sniper backline. We still have this Alawi 2 sitting on bench, which feels really, really bad. But yeah, I think Rain is just gonna say, I have a Philios 2 6 sniper and okay frontline. This board is probably gonna be enough. And I mean, she gets 10 out in this fight, so okay, maybe it's not enough here. But I think she's prepping for the level 9, especially with this person who's got 3 ashes out of the pool. She's really afraid to roll in a spot like this before this person dies. So yeah, she is going to push 9 here, going to pick up a Kog'Maw 2 randomly, picks up another Alawi, and at this point we're going to swap in the Alawi. The Mumu, I think, could come in as well, but right now she's still playing around Faded. Yeah, we're just going to play Faded on our board for now, move the TG over to Syndra. Oh yeah, this board was so... Like, I mean, it makes sense, right? The Amumu without Amumu 2 is actually not that much frontline. We probably want to play around Behemoths right now. So, yeah, this is just going to be our board. But you can see our board, our Aphelios, still 9.3k damage there. This board, with almost no frontline whatsoever, just still absolutely destroyed this guy who is holding all of our units, which feels amazing because now we're much more likely to see things like Ashe 2. We get pretty bad items on the Thief's Gloves here. We're going to use the Sniper Emblem onto the Cinder at this point. Yeah, I think she thinks about putting this on frontline, and then is like, I cannot put an Edge of Night on my frontline. I need more backline. So this ends up making, perfect sense. I think it's very, very smart from Rain. But yeah, I mean, you can see 6 Sniper, and like her frontline is really nothing special, but just look at the damage the snipers do. Like, it just, even this Aphelios just sitting in the corner there, boom, I mean, 8.7k from an Aphelios 2, 6 sniper, just absolutely insane. There is a set off carousel, which will help us fit some better stuff onto this board here, and I think, yep, he just grabs the set here, makes perfect sense. You can now play around more of a Warden frontline as opposed to having to play around this Behemoth frontline, because you really do want to be playing around Wardens ideally. And yeah, the second that you pick up the Amumu 2, now it's set plus Amumu in, and we're just going to play a 3 Warden frontline with this board and just say, you know what, Alawi is enough, and my god, Alawi is enough. Just watch this Alawi with just a couple of Warden in. It's not even 4 Warden Alawi, but just look how long this Alawi unit, many people have talked about it. Alawi is basically better than most of the 4-cost tanks at this point in the game because of how strong Warden is and because of how strong Alawi is as a unit. Like, look, it looks like she's not taking any damage, man. Like, would you rather play an Alawi 2 on your board or a Galio 2? It's almost always going to be Alawi 2. Like, it's just so insane how strong this unit is after the nerfs to some of the other 4-cost tanks and just after the buffs to Warden. She's an absolute monster. And I mean, she's been a monster for most of the set. Pretty easy to see that, like, if Warden was buffed, Alawi would be really strong. And I mean, she's insane. I think a lot of people picked up on this on day 1 about how strong this Alawi unit just is in this situation. We are going to finally end up losing a fight to a pretty strong board. But I mean, still, level 9, we got 20 gold here. We can roll down, potentially pick up an Ashe too. I don't think Rain's thinking about some kind of fast 10. The other big upgrade would be finding a set. I mean, you would love to be able to go 10 here and add a 4th Warden in, but also going level 10 to add a Warden sounds really, really bad. We're going to just roll down here. Like I said, we really want to be able to find Ashe too for extra damage. Then we can actually move items over to her because Ashe is a much better carry than Aphelios. Rain immediately does this. She also has the Nautilus here that she is now going to get in just for 4 Warden. She says that, now that we have the Nautilus, a much better Warden that we can play here, we can play 4 Warden and drop out of the Faded, which I think makes perfect sense here. Nautilus, like, actually a real unit. She didn't want to drop out before because she would have had to put Gnar in, and Gnar is just not an amazing unit, but once we actually have the Warden that we can play around, the Nautilus, this actually feels really good. This is something that I saw Rain do all yesterday, is she's always thinking about what units actually do on her board, not just what synergies exist. She had a game where she could have played 4 Dryad and just a Dryad Faded board, but she ended up playing a Silas on her board for a really long time just because she didn't have a lot of Dryad stacks and because Silas is just a solid unit. And I think Rain's so smart about this kind of stuff, getting in the early Lee Sins. She played a 0 synergy Lee Sin in one of the games in the early game, but it makes so much sense, to just play around what actually makes sense. I think Locket here, I would be surprised I mean, Zeke's is obviously a fine item, but I think, isn't your only issue this game frontline? If your frontline survives, how could you ever lose a fight? Oh, and I love this actually. She's considering putting the Kog'Maw frontline Kog'Maw is really not going to do that much damage, but Kog'Maw will actually be some extra frontline with the Locket. This reminds me back in the day of like frontlining your backline duelists way back when, where you would just frontline, I don't know, it was like duelist Kale or something. You throw her on the frontline with the Locket because that unit is going to add some extra frontline for you, and they're not going to do a ton on your backline. So I actually love this in this spot. I'm going to pick up a Bramble Vest here, just once again, another frontline item. I guess it's an Aphelios, but who cares about the Aphelios? Yeah, just throw the Bramble onto the Amumu. And wow, I was, I was yapping, and I've just realized it is just top 2. It is just us and this person with, looks like a very juiced up duelist board. Not 8 duelists, sadly for them. They didn't get the duelist +1. But they do have an Irelia on their board with some fantastic items. They do have the IE, which is slightly bugged on Irelia, but at least they're not building extra crit onto the Irelia, so it's not such a bad situation. But let's see. Ooh, really close fight, but Rain is able to pick that one up. She's got the set paired here, but I think she's confident enough that she can go 10 with 21 HP. She knows that she's probably not going to die next fight, and getting in the Refaded plus the Arcanist, actually, with the Cinder would be a really nice upgrade. I think this makes perfect sense. All right. We got one more fight, though. Maybe we can just finish the game off here. Their Aurelia and their Tristana are on opposite sides, so they're kind of focusing different targets, which feels kind of bad. This fight looks a little bit worse, but oof, after that Ash cast, just sniping everything, it's an easy dub for Rain. Just showing off the power of 6 Sniper so well. Showing off, I really like my point. I mean, I like Rain's point, that she made through her gameplay about just the prioritization of good units, not putting the Gnar in for 4 Warden, because you would have to cut a Cinder too, and the difference in unit quality there is so big, even though you are getting in a better synergy. I feel like it just makes so much sense. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, comment, subscribe, check out my Twitch and all my other links down below. Also, yeah, like I said, I'll be playing in this tournament with Rain and everybody else. K3 Soju, who barely almost didn't make it through. Okay, but I'll be playing, so go check it out. All right, see you guys later.